All right, so let's talk about working memory and engagement. Um, Working memory is not that complicated of a concept, but oddly, it's one, especially people who are new to tutoring or teaching don't get, and it's something when I was growing up, at least, even teachers didn't seem to get. But essentially, working memory is your ability to hold things in your mind in the short term as you're working through a problem. Um, right? So, in reading, the easiest way to explain that would be when kids are just starting to learn how to read. And they're like, C is k, A is a, T is t. Right? So they go k, a, cat. So before they know the word cat, they have to hold in their memory the C sound, the A sound, and the T sound all at the same time. Anytime they sound out a single word, they're having to use their working memory. I wouldn't say a ton, but enough, right? That's why you see so many kids throw fits when they just start to read. It's because it's hard. It's very, very hard to sound out an entire Dr. Seuss books. Those things are like 50 pages. I could not. I couldn't imagine doing it. It would. Well, I never did that because I threw too many fits. I just completely shattered, my brain. Mental math would be another probably better way to explain it. Like I know 15 times 15 is what 225. Um, so if someone asked me what 15 times 16 was, I would take 225, I would add 15 to it, I would get 240, right? So I'm holding the 225 in my brain and then adding 15 to it. If someone asked me, what 16 times 16 was, that'd be a little bit harder, right? I'd start with 160 and then I would hold that in my head and go, well, 16 times 6 is 96. So whatever 160 and 96 is, 256. Uh, but that's working memory. It's the ability without pen and paper to hold things down for super short term use. Um, so that you can go back to it later. That gets clogged up over time. If you're constantly using it, constantly, doing math problems or constantly sounding things out while you're reading, or if you're in like a super kind of high stressed environment, like I don't know, like waiting tables when there's two, you're gonna work on your working memory. It's gonna get better over time, but it's gonna kind of burn out by the end of the shift or by the end of the paper or whatever. Probably gonna be shorter tempered as a result of it. You're gonna be more prone to throw fits. It's just is what it is. It doesn't matter how interested or how much you want to really be good at the process at the time. Once your brain gets overloaded, that's it. There's no more space. You can't fit anything else in there. It's sad, but that's the way that the cookie crumbles. Um, Engagement, or let me phrase it this way. So let's say someone, the billion math problems in their head, you get to the end of the paper, doesn't matter what you bring up to them at that point, they're not going to be able to be engaged. They kind of just need to not think about anything for a little bit. So yeah, I mean, what that means if you have lack of engagement is inability to focus or ability to focus kind of, but it seems like something just goes in one ear and out the other. an ability really to critically think about it. Now, with that said, you can have lack of engagement without an issue ahead of time. It could be your scaffolding needs to be checked. Maybe you're just talking over the kid's head or over the person's head. Maybe they genuinely just don't give an S for whatever reason. Maybe they should care, but the discipline's not there. There's no credible commitment saying, well, you need to put forth the effort. Yeah, I mean, those are pretty much the reasons with little kids, right? With, see, big boys 2, just over 2. It's kind of hard to discipline them into caring about learning letters. It just is, and probably not worth it. Probably, because you end up, there's a lot of fights and there's no reason for it. He's got 3 or 4 years before he really needs to learn how to read that well. That being said, you just find other strategies. Mom, for instance, he loves the word mom. Mom. And he kind of likes saying dad, but not as much. Recently, he just started to love saying up and pup and cup. And he loves saying hat and bat and cat. So those are the first 3-letter words that he's learning. And he didn't really start caring about any of the letters until he saw, oh, well, these are in words I say, right? And then there are no connections there. And then the more you read books, the more you can point out this letter and this letter and this letter, right? So now he's getting engaged with the letters, which is good, because that means he wants to learn more letters. So now it's great. It's a win-win. But if you don't have anything to kind of, get that engaged spark going, there's no real reason to do it. That's why I wouldn't recommend even really starting to try to get kids to learn letter sounds or words until they're about 2. Once they do, it's a super, super easy, simple process. But yeah, about 2, they need a word they care about, right? And it needs to be simple enough and easy enough so that you can break it down to the letters and it's phonetically easy for them to get. But yeah, now it's I mean, he actually wants to say them. There's a big difference there, right? He listens when I point out, the difference in this word and this word. He listens, or he'll go and he'll find it on his own. He'll find different letters. We have a carpet or whatever, and he'll find different letters on the carpet, or he'll point to different letters in books, or he'll point to, different letters on signs and stuff like that. It's much more helpful because he's helping me teach him. Whereas if that's not there, and that's anything, right? I mean, kids teach themselves so many things just because they care. He really, really learned how to use YouTube quickly because he was engaged in it, right? So, I mean, he had a phone in his lap for maybe 15 minutes and he already knows how to skip a video, how to get a new video on there, how to exit out of the screen should he desire. That took, because he was engaged and he cared. Now that, he's the same thing. I mean, blocks are the same way. There's so many things when they care about, it's 10 times easier to teach them. But remember, sometimes their lack of engagement very quickly at that age can just turn into being burnt out, right? So you want to, foster what they're being, but then if they're doing something that they care about, even if it's just a little bit, and then all of a sudden, like, their eyes are kind of glassy and they just can't focus, either they're pooping in their pants or they can't think anymore. So yeah, working memory is key. It's key to really developing teaching strategies for young kids. Because yeah, you just got to remember they burn out quick, not to overload them, and to kind of break things up. That's it.